Tennessee, became the victims of one of the most infamous hauntings in American history, the Bell Witch Haunting. What started as a series of strange, unsettling occurrences quickly escalated into a horrifying ordeal. One that would not only terrorize the family for years, but also draw the attention of curious neighbors, visitors, and even prominent figures like President Andrew Jackson. In 1817, John Bell, a prosperous farmer, noticed strange, unexplainable disturbances around his property. It started with odd knocking sounds that echoed from the walls of their modest farmhouse. At first, the family dismissed these noises as the creaking of an old house or the wind blowing through the Tennessee fields. But soon, these noises intensified into disembodied voices and eerie whispering. The whispers became clearer over time until they formed words, revealing a sinister presence. Animals on the Bell farm began acting strangely, with cows refusing to eat, dogs barking at nothing, and chickens suddenly dying. John and his family were confused and frightened, but the worst was yet to come. The true terror began when the Bell children, particularly young Betsy, became the target of violent attacks. Betsy would often wake in the middle of the night, screaming as invisible hands slapped and pinched her. Bruises and scratches appeared on her body, and no matter how much the family prayed or tried to ward off the entity, it grew more powerful with each passing day. The spirit, which called itself Kate, seemed to have a personal vendetta against John Bell and his daughter Betsy. Kate's voice, now clear and mocking, would taunt the family endlessly, sometimes laughing and shrieking in a high-pitched, otherworldly tone. Betsy's hair was pulled, her face was slapped, and her sleep was frequently interrupted by terrifying encounters. The spirit's power grew so immense that it could move objects, turn over furniture, and even stop the family's meals from being prepared. John Bell himself suffered from unexplained illness, his face swelling and his throat tightening as if unseen hands were choking him. Word of the hauntings spread through the small Tennessee town, and soon curious neighbors and townspeople visited the Bell home, only to leave horrified. Witnesses claimed to have heard the same terrifying sounds and even witnessed objects moving of their own accord. They described the Bell Witch as an invisible force, capable of appearing anywhere at any time to torment those it pleased. Kate often sang hymns or quoted Bible verses, but always with a mocking tone. Despite its seemingly religious knowledge, the spirit's hatred for John Bell was palpable. It swore that it would eventually kill him, a chilling promise that hung over the family like a dark cloud. The haunting became so infamous that General Andrew Jackson, who would later become the 7th President of the United States, visited the Bell farm in 1819. Jackson, intrigued by the reports of this malicious entity, brought his men to investigate. However, as they neared the Bell property, their wagon wheels inexplicably locked in place. No amount of force could move the wheels, and the horses panicked as if sensing something malevolent. According to legend, Jackson declared, "By the Eternal, this is the Bell Witch," before the spirit's eerie voice rang out, taunting his men. That night, Jackson and his men camped near the Bell home, where they reportedly experienced the same terrifying phenomena that had plagued the family. Jackson, although a skeptic, left the Bell farm shaken, saying he would never return. His encounter only added to the legend of the Bell Witch, The haunting culminated in the slow, painful death of John Bell. Over time, his health deteriorated and he became bedridden. On December 20th, 1820, John Bell was found dead, and near his body was a strange vial of liquid that no one in the family recognized. The Bell Witch's voice triumphantly declared that she had killed him. When the liquid was tested on a cat, the animal immediately died, further proving that the witch had poisoned John. At John Bell's funeral, the witch's voice rang out, laughing and singing joyful hymns celebrating his death. This disturbing display left the mourners terrified and convinced that a truly malevolent force had haunted the Bell family. After John Bell's death, the Bell Witch's activity lessened, but it didn't disappear entirely. The spirit continued to torment Betsy for years, causing her to break off her engagement to a local man, claiming that the witch had promised to kill him if they married. Eventually, the Bell Witch seemingly disappeared, though some say that it vowed to return in 107 years. In 1935, there were no notable disturbances, but locals in Adams, Tennessee, still whisper about the eerie presence that lingers on the land where the Bell farm once stood. The story of the Bell Witch has endured for over 2 centuries, becoming a part of American folklore and cementing its place as one of the most terrifying hauntings in history. To this day, visitors to the town of Adams claim to hear strange noises near the old Bell property, and some say that the Bell Witch's spirit is still waiting for another victim.